Hello.
Hi. Hi, everyone. Hi, Internet. Um, I'm Michael. I'm here with my colleagues on the Sudowrite team, Ginny and Brian, and we have some exciting news. We are here because Import Novel is live on Sudowrite. So Import Novel is a brand new feature in open beta right now, which lets Sudowrite take your novel or your work in progress or just a big messy pile of world building notes and uh, populate your story Bible for you off of that information. So that means we can pull a whole bunch of details in there, generate an outline, get all your characters, world building elements, all sorts of things off of your work. And so it's less work for you, hopefully, to set up the story Bible. And we're very excited about this. We just launched this, and then we hopped on this stream together to kick the tires on it. So I'm going to pass it over to Ginny, who's going to maybe give us a look at how this works.
Yeah. So hey everyone, I'm Jenny. Um, I am going to do a quick demo of this. So let me go ahead and share my screen. Alrighty, so there is our little Sudowrite window. And to import a novel, basically all you're going to need to do is hit this import button up here in the corner of the main project list. You can either drag and drop a file or browse through your computer. I'm going to drop in just a little project and it will go ahead and start importing. So this project is like one little scene of what could potentially be a much larger story. It's about the angel Gabriel and the angel Lucifer. They are in the office of heaven. God comes in and gives them one last task at like 4 p.m. on a Friday, and they're upset about that because they want to go have their weekend plans, but they try to figure it out and sort of antics ensue. So we'll see what happens when Sudowrite does its analysis of everything and starts to figure out what I've written and maybe make some additional suggestions for what I could do to complete the story. You can see here, we are going through a number of steps to import the novel. Basically, what's happening behind the scenes is we do an initial analysis step where we kind of get an understanding of your plot and your themes and maybe how finished the story is. Then we're going to go through and analyze your outline to try and understand the larger structure of the story. We'll create a synopsis for you. We're going to do a genre analysis as well. And then finally, the last step here, which we are in the middle of at the moment, is extracting all your key characters and world building elements. So now you can see the project is complete. I can open it up. Here's my original text that I uploaded. It's in this screenplay format. I can check out the genre. I've gotten comedic fantasy science fiction with elements of cosmic and heavenly bureaucracy and interpersonal dynamics between angels. So that's pretty much spot on to what I uploaded. And then this is pretty cool. Here's my synopsis. I can see in the internal halls of heaven's main office, two angels, Gabriel and Lucifer, find themselves embroiled in a clash over the final details of creation. So here is what I uploaded with my scene as they attempt to finalize the karate belt color system, their differing approaches, lead to growing frustration and disagreement. This is also from my scene. God shows up and he introduces a new day of the week called Flabber Day, which is supposed to increase productivity. But the angels are really not too happy about this new 8 day work week. Um, Gabriel is like about it. He's a bit of a workaholic. He wants to work, but Lucifer is like he's maybe experiencing a little bit of burnout and he wants to go on vacation. So this is kind of fun. The AI has taken this concept that I wrote into like my one little scene and extrapolated it into maybe a larger plot detail. The implementation of Flabber Day is going to throw heaven into total chaos and the rift between the two angels deepens. Um, so Lucifer's discontent festers. Uh, he starts to organize protests. God finally intervenes and he's disappointed in both of them. Um, yeah, so Gabriel will work to reform heaven's bureaucracy, and Lucifer and his followers will adapt to their home in hell. So this is kind of like a fun, more full version of this one little scene that I've uploaded. I have my characters here. Gabriel. Gabriel is driven by an unwavering desire to fulfill God's will. That checks out. He's diligent, meticulous, and highly organized. He's been at the forefront of executing God's plans. You'll notice here that I don't have the default Sudowrite character field set up. I have my own custom fields, so import novel will respect those when you're bringing it in, which is kind of a cool little thing here. We have a description for Lucifer. Of course, he's tall and strikingly handsome. He's the devil, right? Like he has to be. We have a card for God. So God's background, I like this. God has existed since the beginning of time. He created heaven, hell, and earth. That's
Nice.
kind of fun. And of course, even God has vulnerabilities. Despite being omnipotent, God's shadow self harbors doubts about whether his hands-off approach is always the best way to foster growth. um, So the other thing here is we get a full outline. So it will take that first scene that I wrote and maybe extrapolate it into a full outline. If you upload a larger manuscript, it will try and generate an outline more based on what you've given it because it has more to work with. I've only given it a single scene, so it extrapolates a little more. Okay, yeah, so we have this God calls, I like this, divine designs for the 2020s. God calls a meeting to reveal his plans for the upcoming decade on Earth. The proposed events include a global pandemic, climate disasters, political upheaval, and technological advances that blur the line between reality and virtual worlds. Rebellion in the ranks, the fall, we have to get that in there, of course. And then new beginnings. Heaven and hell adjust to their new reality in the aftermath of Lucifer's fall. And I'm also going to get some little key world building elements. So this was a key part of the one scene that I uploaded. This argument between Gabriel and Lucifer is the first thing that kind of shows you their differing working approaches. So I'm glad it's pulled that out as like a key event for the characters. This is a fun joke that happens in the original scene. The angels get into a discussion about like what is going on with the platypus and why is it such a weird animal. Um, so I like this. The platypus serves as a symbol of divine preference and the whimsical aspects of creation that defy logic. So that's kind of fun. Oh, it's pulled this moon setting out in the scene that I uploaded. Lucifer has this bit of dialogue where he's talking about how he doesn't want to work on Flabber Day. He just wants to go retire on the moon. He was like ready to go. The moon has like this whole retirement community for angels who don't have to work anymore. Um, so yeah, that's the project. I'm pretty happy with it.
Cool.
Cool.
That's very cool.
Um,
Now, Jenny, how many, roughly how many words was that? Do you have a sense?
The project itself, the file that I uploaded.
Yeah, what you uploaded. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's only about 1,300 words. So the one scene that I uploaded was, it's really just a seed in this case.
Cool. So I know that part of the intent of this is that when it comes to uh, maybe if folks are uploading something where it's light on details, Sudowrite will sort of hop in and try and flesh things out in the story Bible. Did you see any of that happening in that sample?
Oh yeah, for sure. Like the whole rest of the outline, a lot of the extrapolation about like the rebellion that Lucifer, none of that is in the original scene. The original scene is really like it's meant to be like a 3 minute kind of one act conversation between these two angels. So a lot of the larger plot elements were extrapolated, which is great for me because that's the kind of writer I am. I'm the kind of person who like bangs out a scene and then I'm like, okay, I'm done with that forever, moving on. So it's
mhm.
nice to be able to export that kind of thinking.
Yeah. This is going to be very helpful for discovery writers, I think, who are off to the races and maybe write the first half or even the first complete draft of a book and then reach a point where they're like, okay, there's problems. How do I fix them? And the fact that this thing will create an outline is really helpful because then you can work backwards from that and fix the outline, maybe generate a couple more chapters or edit those chapters, combine characters, etc. Um, and it was really cool how it used your custom traits, because you had some traits in there. For anyone who's not familiar with Sudowrite's Story Bible, for characters and world building, you can actually customize like each of the different sections. And so the fact it described God as like unsure about his hands-off approach, I think that was a custom trait, right? It was like
Yeah, yeah. I can show
shadow
you again.
self or something like that.
Let me pull it up. Yeah, shadow self. I find this is a good trait to get. Sometimes the AI wants to be really positive, so I like to put in some traits that like
Yeah.
mandate a negative trait or
Yeah.
two. Um, yeah. So
Yeah.
where's God's?
So
Here it
cool.
is.
So yeah, if you're an author and you have, oh, another use case I wanted to point out that's so cool about this. If you finish book one and you want to write book two, and you want to make sure that your characters are consistent, world building items are consistent, all that, you can import book one and then just clear out the outline and the synopsis and then fill in what you want to do for book two. And then you'll have still have access to all those characters. You can maybe switch the antagonist or the protagonist around with the drop down there. And that's a really good way to take advantage of like all the work that you have put in for book one and dovetail that into book two, or three, four, five, as the case may be.
Yeah,
A use case I hadn't considered until I just saw Jenny use this particular sample was this idea of converting a short story to a novel, to a full-length
Ooh,
novel, right? Where it's like, oh, I have a short story and I really love my short story, but I want to actually turn this into a novel. Um,
yeah,
where you could get a story Bible up and running and like almost instantly, given the fact that it sort of like increases fidelity on the outline, you could just generate chapters to see what they look like. Or, you get that first pass outline and you go in and do what you're suggesting, Ryan, for series where you tweak the synopsis or just directly edit the outline and then link those chapters and generate away.
yeah. Awesome. I'm just realizing too now, depending on we do have a word count limit of like 120, 130,000. We're not totally sure what it is yet because the token to word conversion like actually matters quite a bit at this scale of document. But in theory, if you had two 50,000 word books, you could put them both in and actually bootstrap a series Bible out of that. Um, and then in terms of languages, this should work with other multiple languages, right? Like,
it
uh,
should.
okay, cool. And have you done any testing with NSFW content?
Yes, we have.
How's it
We
going?
haven't run into many issues with that yet, but of course, I think during this beta period we'll be calibrating
Hmm.
to try. We want to make that possible. So
Yeah. And then one other thing to call out is it's going to dump the whole manuscript into one document.
yeah,
We're planning on eventually splitting it up into multiple chapters if we detect that whatever you upload is, in multiple chapters. But we wanted to get feedback as quickly as possible on, the AI side of things, because that's like the most important thing to get working really well. So please let us know your feedback on the results. What looks good, what looks bad, what can we improve. Where it's free in beta to encourage usage and experimentation, and it may remain free depending on the kind of usage patterns we see. Because our hope is that basically this helps people get up and running in Sudowrite much faster. Because if you have a half finished book and that's the time when you maybe want the most help from AI. We want to make it really easy to get started, but we'll have to see how it ends up getting used in practice. That'll influence the long-term sort of pricing strategy.
yeah, or even a single scene like this, right? Because now I'm in a position where you know I can come down here and I can say, let's start writing chapter 1. Right? Here we are.
Mm-hmm.
I'm ready to go.
Yeah.
Or I could even just see what happens without thinking of any beats.
Right, because when
Yeah.
you use the right button, it actually has access to the outline. Ooh, look at that little tag that tells you it looked at the outline of chapter 1.
Yeah.
That's new.
So it's looking at all this stuff that I just generated with my import.
Gosh, I hadn't even. So, yeah, of course, the right button is rigged up to Story Bible, but this also means that like this is now the quickest way to get plugins referencing a certain piece. You know, if you have an old book that you've worked on and you've been working on the sequel inside of Sudowrite, and you want to check some stuff against that old book's Story Bible, you could
That's
build
right.
your own plugin and have it, referencing that now. That's cool.
God Almighty. His character is very funny. Okay, awesome. Well, let's stop here for now and then come
There's,
on over to our Discord.
so I was going to say, there's two things you got to know. One thing, you're going to find the import button in the upper left-hand side of sudowrite.com as long as you're logged in. If you're logged in, you can see your project's upper left-hand corner. That's where that new import button is, and you should be able to see it right now. The other thing, I guess, is in the description of this YouTube video, we will include a direct link to the open beta documentation that we have for Import Novel. This explains everything about the feature, all the little like things you should know, the planned changes, and the things that we're tracking that we know need some refinement. There's also a little form on there where if you are experimenting with this tool in beta and you encounter anything that's being a little funky, you can submit the form with that report and we can fix things accordingly. Yeah, we'll make sure that's in the description here.
Nice. All right, to infinity and beyond.